Total War Warhammer 3 is a convoluted turn-based strategy and sometimes barely functional real-time video game. The sole reason is to engage in diplomacy, get drawn into too many wars and finally destroy neighbors, which at some point will be anyone. Or it was, since the grand campaign of Immortal Empires is still not available. What we have now is a mix of some old factions disguised as new ones, fighting each other over some violently screaming bear dude who is captured somewhere in the Shadow Realm. Before we even start, I need to ask you a few questions. Do you enjoy money, trade, and the adrenaline rush of seeing your stocks plummet into oblivion just because some ugly man monstrosity decided that meat is back on the menu? Do you burst randomly into temper tantrums because the contents of your fridge violates all laws of Feng Shui? Your only solution is to set fire to the neighbor's house, car and flower bed. Do you have an unreasonable hate for the Mongolians and love building walls everywhere you go? Why not try out Cathay, who are, depending on your playstyle, worse high elves or, secretly, dwarves with magic? Just like China, Cathay consists mostly of humans who live, breathe and eat rice, fish and whatever animals the Noscan hordes leave at my fortified walls. Like China, Cathay is ruled by immortal shape-shifting dragons, including, but not exclusively to the celestial dragon emperor, Jeff, who at some point unified Cathay and is now sitting in his flying city, smoking pot with his moon empress, who is belittling servants and telling everyone how the old times were better, before Games Workshop wrote everything into shit. Regardless of that, we play as either Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon, who, from the Wikipedia description, is a huge bitch, or Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon, who ate too many green crayons he found in a desert. Both tasked with the mission to find their younger sister, Zhenzhou, by an old homeless man who got himself into a snuggle struggle with one of the Chaos Gods by opening random books in a library. To achieve our task, we need to find the 4 mysterious flavors of Monster Energy: Green, Ultra, Watermelon, Punch, and Absolute Zero. We wait until the walls of reality break down so we can enter the unique parts of Berlin, where we play various minigames with the local crackheads, aka Mario Party. But beware, longer stays will inflict various side effects, for example syphilis, dysentery, existential dread, and intermittent explosive disorder. My usual Monday. All monster energies acquired, we overdose on the white crystalline powder and finally break into the Shadow Realm, where we beat down on the boss of the crackheads. How do we do that? With mechanics, of course. Units, there are 24 unique units across 7 different categories. Lords, there are 2 kinds of lords, the one who can cast magic and the other who is completely useless. Heroes, get yourself an Astromancer and never look back. Melee infantry ranges from peasant long spearmen over to jade warriors and finally celestial dragon guard. Spearmen always remind me of a better time, where I could use the spear wall ability and make a low level trash unit into a staunch, indestructible wall of death. The other 2 are also okay. Ranged infantry, we don't need to discuss them, always pick the most expensive one, and if you have no clue how to position units, always pick the one with bow in its name. Terracotta Sentinel is the only monster option and pretty decent at it. I suggest putting them all into one army and see them beat the ever-living shit out of your enemy. Cavalry's only use is to kite enemies and lose against ranged units in melee. Don't buy them. And war machines, build either skyjunks or fire rain rockets. Everything else in this is absolutely worthless. I look at you, whooshing war campus. What even are you doing? If you find the time, park your skyjunk near the front line and go into manual aim mode. Thank me later. And besides the basics of moving, building and recruiting, Cathay, like any other faction, possesses unique disabilities which will aid and hinder your advances. The Wu Jing Compass, a magical beyblade capable of decapitating any living and non-living creature, fueled by the power of friendship and multiple air-cooled diesel engines from 1945. It transforms winds of magic into potent benefits which include increased birth rate, a reduced recruitment cost, the ability to conjure a giant ball of ice which explodes on impact. The Spanish Inquisition removes unwanted preachers and unholy persons from your lands. And of course additional tax collectors and bodyguards who will beat up anyone who can't pay. The Great Bastion, a giant detriment to you and your faction. Like the real Wall of China, the only thing it does is to attract a ton of tourists, in our case Nosca tourists, who want to sightsee your prosperous villages with burning torches. I'm not kidding, the only thing that piece of shit does is to spawn a ton of Noscan armies from time to time that try to tear walls down, allowing every other faction behind the walls to pour in. I would much rather prefer that the poor excuse of a mechanic be removed and just replaced with 3 normal settlements. The Ivory Road, where you are able to send caravans to distant places, investing cargo into them will yield profit. And bigger investments yield bigger profit, suffice to say, if they survive the traveling tax collectors. Early on, it's fairly easy to make a quick buck, most man-eaters and weeps are still asleep, and events are doable for the most part. Later on, the Ivory Road becomes hell, because the IRS has catched wind of our activities and wants their money, leading to increased travel difficulties for your caravans. Where you once traversed the mountainous paths with ease, it becomes a biological hazard zone at later stages. And of course Harmony, which is separated and battle and campaign benefits. For simplicity's sake, every ranged unit is a yin. Every unit that is technically good, melee is a yang, and your lords and heroes can be either. And being close to one another gives benefits. Both become highly motivated. Yins become faster and stronger with the hands, and yangs understand the importance of hand-to-hand combat. On the campaign map, Harmony gives us bonuses as long as we can balance it. Leaning slightly into one side will give us weaker benefits, but letting one side dominate ensures internal turmoil and chaos. If my empire dissolves itself just because I built too many yin buildings in one province, I don't want to know what kind of emotional struggle my neighbors go through when they see my front garden. But this is not where Harmony stops. Technology, which can give your units and factions decent buffs, is also split into yin and yang. I look around and saw the first upgrade for my peasant spearman, Chelonian Stance. Gives my spearman some knowledge in hand-to-hand combat, but what is this? It also increases my yin. I look around to find drill training. Another upgrade for my spearman, but this time it gives me yang. Another one, Hardened Bamboo. Has no harmony and upgrades my spearman even more. It was already too late. I needed to dig deeper. I made a simple Excel sheet just to understand what kind of logic creative assembly followed, with a conclusion you won't like. Melee infantry, a lot of yang and a bit of yin. Ranged infantry, almost only yin, with a lot of upgrades. Horses, very young, very wow. And siege weaponry, which has an identity struggle, but would say if asked that it's yin. And if you're in search of someone in harmony, someone who is at peace, opened its third eye, your one and only love, you need to look for either a trap or oversized body pillow. At least the tree in itself is balanced. Audio quality is overall rich and immersive, besides some intended features. My only problem is that the accent of some units sounds off. I'm in no way fluent in Chinese, but can tell if someone isn't even trying. The units are fitting, landscapes look beautiful, and a good amount of visual clutter is removed. But there are still problems. Some outlines are unnecessarily bright or not removable, and the one or other model could have benefited from another touch-up. And besides that, the game still manages to put my graphics card into overdrive, initiating internal meltdown. Thanks to this, big corporations will survive another day. I need to buy another card once the silicon starts to drip down inside my case, emitting toxic fumes I happily inhale. And the biggest problem I have is with the campaign mechanic itself. You see, to win the game we need to find the 4 souls, which we do by entering the various chaos realms, fighting our way through the hordes of demons. Take me down to the Paradise City where the grass is purple and the girls are what the fuck. The God of Pleasure Slanesh, where I went in with a very basic, already damaged army, went down all layers of some kind of onion just to fight the same copy and pasted army over and over again. And I can tell you, Slanesh is not joking around if he finds interest in you. The deeper I went into the onion, the better the rewards became. The deeper I went, the harder it became for me to resist. Every step I took,
so I'm gonna pay you $100
became a Sufi. Every enemy I slayed made them more irresistible. Every puzzle I took made this place feel more like home. Why did I even come here? For monster energy, or for the ultimate pleasure only a chaos god could provide? My mind foggy, my body paralyzed. The only thing I know is that one yes is enough, and we can reach new heights of pleasure together. The fights were easy, and in fact so easy that after every battle I had more men in my army than before. To this day I don't understand how I managed to find more men in this twisted wasteland. Did we recruit demons? Have we rapidly reproduced? I don't know, but I firmly believe that our journey was rewarding enough and that the friendships we formed during our stay is magic. Khorne the Blood God. I went in with hopes of getting out fast, but this wasn't the case. The moment I appeared in his twisted realm, the very first moment our first enemy was killed, I felt it, the bloodlust. Usually killing is a means to an end, but not here. Here, it is entertainment. A pastime activity everyone enjoys, and only after there was enough killing can we escape. His realm isn't too bad. Besides the extreme obsession of the color red in Khorne's and also China's realm during its cultural revolution in 1966, only one major thing bothered me here. We have blood pools, rivers of blood, but blood coming out of our enemies is too much. The lack of blood makes fights comical to watch in my opinion. And besides that, I can't really complain about this realm because it is possible to clear it extremely fast. There are weapons scattered around which allow your lord to temporarily become extremely powerful, but there's a catch. Once you enter another realm, Khorne takes his weapon back, returning your lord to his previous form. Daddy Nurgle loves us all equally with his diseases. I hope you enjoy eating ass and bodily fluids because his minions will inevitably reach you, force you down and bless you with some quality chocolate drink. His followers are by far the most disgusting and unbridled creatures you will ever encounter. I hope your immune system is correctly working because contracting inflammatory bowels here can be considered the best of the worst, and dying by asphyxiation is a common thing. Still worse than Khorne, the only thing you will encounter here is pain and ass. If this is reward enough for you, be happy to stay. I, for my personal taste, have seen too much. And finally, fuck this place. From the bottom of my heart, I hate this place. I don't know how an African warlord got involved in all of this, but this is wrong. Every time I teleported, I got lost. Every time I moved, some asshat tried to mock me. And every time I did anything in this realm, I was forced to watch one of the Text many videos. He is twisted in its truest form. After going through his domain, I'm convinced that some sort of PTSD will haunt me for the rest of my life, and I wish I never need to go through this place ever again with a cheat engine. Conclusion: Warhammer 3 is an amazing, beautiful, sometimes even brutal game which tests your tactical and strategic judgment to its limits with some unfortunate problems. Problems that are easily modded if you so desire. Immerse yourself in a grim, dark fantasy world where brutal terror is a daily occurrence, the corruption of otherworldly deities real, and keeping your sanity a true challenge. This is why I encourage you to play Warhammer 2 until Immortal Empires is released. I give Warhammer a score of the insane amount of damage I can do with just one spell over the amount of battles I need to fight over the end turn.